everyone. I've brought in a second horse for a tip as well for the calm down cue because this is a little bit different. This is Sedona. Sedona was actually brought to me a week ago. She is a 7-year-old mare who is unbroke, and I've had exactly 4 sessions with her. She's been introduced to the head down cue only a few times. I really like her. She's very sweet. So what I'm going to actually show you now is a little bit of a different feel for this cue, because I know there's going to be some of you that say, well, I don't barrel race, how will this make sense to me? If any of you have issues with stopping, this is also one of the reasons why your horse won't stop. It's important that a horse actually learns to pull into contact. And I know that sounds crazy at first, but a horse needs to be politely heavy before they can learn to be politely light. And by that I mean, I need a cue to be able to tell that horse to get on contact right away. This actually is very useful too for a rearing horse, because when a horse is lifting their feet off the ground to rear, a rider's going to lift their hands up anyway. So we might as well make the cue that when we lift our hands up in response to that panic, that the horse drops its head lower, and in response to that, it will actually put its feet back down on the ground. So what we're doing here with Sedona is, you can see her reaction is a little bit more stickier than Tigger's was. It's taking her a little longer to grasp the concept that I want her to lower her head. And this is somewhat what you're going to run into. She has just a little bit of the concept, but not enough where it's perfect. So I'm going to move to the other side here, and then you can see she kind of doesn't want to stand still, wants to throw her head to the other side, no big deal. And she seems to be a little bit more impolite on the right side. So usually with a horse that doesn't really know what bit pressure is all about, or a horse that's unfamiliar with it, this is one of the first cues I put on an unbroke, because I do not want to see the reaction be a surprise for me when I get on their back. I want to know exactly what's going through their brain now before I get on the back and figure it out. So I'm going to just hold this contact and keep pulling upwards until she drops her head and is polite, very good, and gives me the weight of her head basically. Good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add one more part to this cue. This is called action and reaction. So I'm going to take the rein over the top of her pole like this. Now she has not done this at all yet. This rein is actually just going to pull down a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit. This hand is still going to lift up in response to that head down cue. The reason for this is sometimes the horse's head will tilt a lot and they'll overbend. And for some horses, this rein over top of the pole makes them panic. And I want a horse to understand every scenario. So when the owner does come to pick up the horse, I have no idea how they ride. I have no idea how their hands are. And they can be the best rider in the world, but if they panic, everybody's hands go haywire. So I want to make sure, good girl, that that horse understands what the concept of pulling is. Because, I haven't done this with her yet, if I add a lot of pressure, God forbid something were to happen, this is going to be her reaction under saddle. Okay, so let's say she was already taking off with me, and that was 5, 10, 15, 20 steps of her in a full gallop, and she still is not on contact and still not dropping her head. That's a pretty scary thought when you're sitting on a horse's back that's out of control. So I want to fix that here. I don't want to wait till I'm up there. And I will pretty much do this with an unbroke horse until I feel like I can get up there and I will have somewhat of a controlled horse in my hands if things start to go awry. Because I'll tell you what, most of the time when you work on things in a controlled environment, which I consider a round pen because it's smaller, and then I move to my arena here, I lose 30% of the training that I just had in the round pen. So to me, I better have it 100% in the round pen before I move to this arena, because I'm only starting in here with 70%. So that's one thing that you have to think about whenever you are working your horse anywhere, whether it be getting ready to take them on a trail ride, being at the show ring, getting them off the trailer at a show, wherever it might be. You have to think in your mind that that horse is losing 30% of all the great training you had with them at home. I'm just going to do action reaction on this side. So you need to make sure that the concepts and the training, that your horse fully understands it, so that you have more of a fighting chance of getting it correct. Now see how Sedona's moving her feet? She doesn't really know what I want. She kind of thinks that she has to lean and pull through my hand. And if she does move her feet, I'm just going to go with her. And I'm going to keep the same amount of pressure When she throws her head to the side here, pushes against me, it's only her trying to figure it out. So me getting madder or me adding more pressure is not going to solve this problem. All it's going to do is add insult to injury, basically. You never want to attack a horse. You always give a horse alternatives. So right here, I'm just pretty much saying to her, it's okay, I'm not leaving. I'm just going to wait you out until you figure out that I want your head, good girl, to drop. And when you have a moment just like that, where the horse doesn't immediately drop their head and they kind of don't really know what you're looking for, just stick with them. Stick with them for that extra second and make sure that they understand what it is that you're looking for so that they can respond accordingly to what you're asking. It sets up work ethic, and that's what I'm all about with horses. They need to be able to, when it's time to work, they need to be able to work, and they need to understand that they need to start looking for answers. And that's basically what I'm setting up here with Sedona. Do you see how she won't let me on her right side? So what I'll do with her, instead of directly going to that issue, I'll just say, here, put your head down on the left, put it down on the left, keep putting it down on the left. And I just snuck right over here to the right using the cue that I was just working on. So replace the bad behavior with something you want. Don't make a big deal out of it. Your horse will eventually forget about it as long as it's not a dangerous behavior. And eventually you'll be able to work through issues with no big deal. And as you can see, Sedona is doing really well in her training. This is where I'd like her head to be for the next month. And this is where I'm going to aim for her head to be, because this is where she's going to start to build all of her top line muscles in her neck. So you can see I'm really big on this. She has a very built-up pole, but here in the middle of her neck there's not so much development with her neck muscles. So that's what I'll be targeting and working on in the next month. So I want to thank you for watching this. I hope it gives you a little bit of insight as to what issue you might have with this particular cue and how it can help you if you're not a barrel racer. It's pretty much the same concept. The only thing that we've changed is we put the rein over the pole. The other thing I wanted to mention is it also helps if your horse, God forbid, the reins drop and they actually get tangled up in them and they step in them. Most of the time they'll step on the rein and lower their head. So they learn not to panic. It helps in the trailer when you're tying. It also helps in cross tie, because the horse understands the concept of pressure. So once again, I'm Tara Jones, and this is Sedona, who's in training, who just got an A+ today because she did fabulous. And if you have any questions about this cue that I just taught, please feel free to contact me. And everybody, have happy training.